Megan with First Blood, good morning. Good morning. And good morning. Okay. Ooh, looks like my camera's just a touch high. Let's see if I can. Oh, too much. Okay. We're gonna stop right there. Live is hard mode. We're gonna go with what we got. We're gonna get what we get and not pitch a fit. All right. Close enough. So, Mellow Monday morning. Mellow. And I am going to talk a little bit about the economy this morning, but I'm going to try to put a positive twist on it. And I'm not going to make the argument that inflation is good. However, I am going to forward the argument that an inconvenient rise in the price of convenience food, fast food, could have a positive outcome for the quality of life of the average American generally, as long as it's taken correctly. So, I'm going to read you guys some news that is going to come as a shock to no one, probably. Any of you who spend any time on the road, like I do real estate photography, many of you guys that watch the show know that one of my principal contracts is real estate photography, and I shoot everything from LJ to Macon and Columbus to Augusta, which for those of you who don't live in and around the greater metro Atlanta area, that's a lot. It's an easy 4-hour drive between any two of the 4 points that I've just described. It's a big area. Normally I shoot around the metro, and I don't normally have more than an hour and a half drive between two shoots, but sometimes I have long days, like not this past Friday, but the Friday before last. I left my house in Conyers, Georgia, to go shoot at, as soon as the show was over at about 8:15, I was out the door to go shoot a house in Monroe, which is about a 45-minute drive from home. Then from there, I went and shot a house in Snellville. From Snellville to Greensboro. From Greensboro, I then went to Avondale Estates and shot a property. Then it was Avondale Estates to Covington, Georgia. And then Covington to Stonecrest. And I think the 45 minutes to the shoot in Monroe, that was the shortest piece of driving I did all day. I'm forgetting one because I think I had 6 shoots that day. It was a long damn day. The last one was in Stonecrest, a half hour from home. And I stopped for a bite to eat on the way home. And that I clearly remember that evening I went to Golden Corral, which Sergeant Major says you're zigzagging your assets. Yes, there was definitely a much more efficient route to cover those shoots, but the shoots were scheduled by time, right? So I was, meeting a client at point A, meeting a client at point B, and hey, we need you at this time. We need you at this time. So, if it had been a day full of vacant houses, I would have taken a completely different route. There wouldn't have been any of this passing my own house 3 times to go in opposite directions. But that's not the point. The point is, you're on the road a lot. Fast food is going to happen. And y'all, personally, I've got here, actually, let me check the app, because I use the McDonald's app. I do. I don't eat at McDonald's very often. And I almost never pay for food at McDonald's. Yeah, I've got 6,000 points with, no, 10,000. It's still counting. 10,528 points. Because, quite frankly, I very rarely buy food at McDonald's. I stop at McDonald's a lot, though, because it has a bathroom and it sells coffee. The vast majority of my McDonald's points come from... I've got this thing. Maybe it's just an old white dude thing. I just personally cannot stand to go into a business, right? A restaurant, a gas station, or whatever. I cannot stand to go into a business to use the bathroom without buying something. And frankly, I always need, when I'm driving around a lot, I always need a cup of coffee or a bottle of water. So it's easy, right? So I'm gonna spend $2 or $3 every time I stop to pee. Okay. Cost of doing business and having a certain ethic. So I always buy a cup of, I go to McDonald's to use the bathroom. I always buy a cup of coffee. But the price of fast food, and it's kind of funny to me to see it happening in such a way that Americans are noticing, because the fact is the price of fast food has slowly been rising over time, right? Inflation is happening as long as we have a state monopoly counterfeiter printing at the press constantly. Inflation is ongoing. So of course prices in 2020 are higher than prices in 1980. Okay, fair play. But I remember, you guys know Mario does the show occasionally. I remember Mario and I both got back from deployment around the same time. I spent a year in Afghanistan. He spent a year in Iraq. And I want to say he got back a couple of months before I did. I want to say our years were offset by about 2 months or so. But anyway, got back. Been gone, been out of the States for a year, and come back. And one of the things when you come back for a lot of us is, I don't have to plan all my meals around the DFAC schedule anymore, right? When you're downrange, if you're lucky enough to be on a base that has a dining facility, you've got four 2-hour blocks for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and mid-rats, right? So you can go and get something to eat in the middle of the night, around midnight, because we do work the whole clock. But you've got these 2-hour blocks, and you got to figure out a way to get in and get out in that 2 hours. And the availability is sufficient that it's not terribly onerous, But it's kind of aggravating. Just be like, hey, you know what? I have to live on somebody else's schedule. When you get back to the real world, to the first world, where we still live in the fabrication of civility, being able to get off work and just swing through a drive-thru and grab a milkshake and a cheeseburger on the way home it's dangerously convenient. Because, wow. But Mario and I were talking about it when we got home, and prices had increased on everything in just that 1 year. From when we left in 2010 to when we got back in 2011, all the prices had gone up by almost 50% at all the fast food joints. Now, this was in Hawaii, where there's a bunch of Democrats, so prices are bad anyway. But it was shocking to see how much they had gone up, and that was a relatively small increase, all things considered. Today. Okay, this is running on Twitter. People are sharing this on Twitter right now. A photo of a McDonald's menu. I believe they said this one is in Connecticut, and it's at it's at a rest station, right? So there's, that's an extra factor that bumps that price up anymore. But look at that. Double quarter pounder with cheese. $18.99. McCrispy sandwich, $17.99. Right? 10-piece McNuggets, $18.29. $18.20. That's almost $2 for a nugget. $2 a nugget. Damn, son. Now, in fairness, these are not the regular prices everywhere. But it's still, check on my app at the nearest Mickey D's. Okay, we're looking at like $8 for a Big Mac, almost $10 for a Big Mac meal. That's in Georgia, right? Georgia has one of the lowest cost of living costs in the entire country. That is among the mountain of reasons that I live here. Right now, it's not the most important reason. That's obviously my family, but definitely on the decision chart was cost of living when the wife and I were making the choice on where to move when we got out of the military and moved back to America and left Hawaii. You and me says Big Macs used to be $6. You must be a youngin', because Big Macs used to be $3. $3.50 maybe. I remember when they put the Big and Tasty on the menu at McDonald's. That was in the 1 month that I worked at a McDonald's in 1999, and the Big and Tasty was $1.99, and brothers would come through the drive-thru. Yeah, let me get one of them Big Nasties. I need one of them Big and Nasties. They don't have that anymore. It was basically just a quarter pounder with some extra condiments. But let's get to the positive spin. Let's get to it's Mellow Monday. Pit Danny says the original burger was 15 cents in the 60s. Yeah, that's a little bit different. It's the same problem, but at a lesser magnitude. A 15-cent burger in the 60s when gas was, 10 cents a gallon, 15 cents a gallon. I don't remember the 60s. I wasn't there. But I do remember in the early 2000s, right, especially before 9/11, there was such a thing as a dollar menu. Gas was less than $1 a gallon. And understand, it is not that prices have increased, right? That's not actually what inflation is. Inflation is that your dollar is worth less money. The value of your cash has decreased, right? So there's a total amount of wealth in the world. There is an actual finite amount of wealth, right? So wealth as a concept is infinite. It's unlimited because it is possible through human ingenuity and creativity to create more wealth. And we could all be wealthier if we create wealth. Now, that wealth takes the form of capital, of currency, of real estate, of property, of value adds to real properties, of services, of products, etc., etc. So conceptually, wealth is infinite, but practically, there is a finite amount of wealth in the world for everyone. And every single dollar, every unit of currency represents a division, an increment of that wealth. What currency is, technically, is not itself wealth, but rather a measure of wealth. So, if you take a foot, 12 inches, and you double the number of inches in the foot so that it's 24 inches, the foot doesn't get longer. The inches got shorter. If a foot was 24 inches long instead of 12, but you didn't change the size of the foot, then you've changed the amount of foot you need to fill a shoe. That's how currency works. Currency is not a representation of men's labor. It is a representative measurement it is a representative measurement for the purposes of exchanging that labor in the abstract. It seems like a pedantic argument. It seems like a difference without a distinction, but it is not. Because the labor itself is tangible and exchecable. The measure of that labor being the currency, and the quantity of currency determining the value of the currency. All currency must be understood as a fraction of a whole. And so when the amount of the number of dollars increases, then the value of dollars decreases. But where's the positive? Honestly, I hope it's that people stop eating trash. Don't get it twisted. I'm a fat boy at heart. I was born to it. I'm a big old boy. Once upon a while ago, say, 12 years ago, I quit running 100 miles a week. And I put on 100 pounds in 2 or 3 years. It was quick. I got fat fast. And I have since lost a good chunk of that. And personally, of late, for about the past 2.5, 3 months now, I've been doing the intermittent fasting thing. So basically, I don't eat anything after 6 o'clock in the evening, usually. Well, 7. I don't eat. We usually have dinner at 6. I don't actually eat anything after 7 o'clock in the evening, usually. And then I try not to eat anything for the first time each day until afternoon. I try to wait until at least noon to break fast. So I've been sticking to that pretty good, and I've been losing weight doing that. And when I'm out on the road, y'all, like I said, I'm a fat kid at heart. I really am. And I love me a buffet. And I want y'all to love you a buffet too. And it's not it's not the same thing that it was. So we hop in the Wayback Machine. When I was 15, 16 years old, and I was doing Shaolin Kung Fu at the dojo in Maine, and a bunch of my buddies were doing that, and we would go every Saturday. We'd kickbox and spar, and Friday and Saturday nights we'd go to the old Armory Youth Center and we'd box. Right, basically all our time was spent working and fighting. We all had part-time jobs at least, and we spent all our time either at school, working, or fighting. It was awesome. And back then, almost every Saturday, we would go and kickbox for a couple or 3 hours, work up a good appetite, and then we'd go to the China Moon. This was before we found out about the sweet and sour seagull, which, by the way, was delicious, and so I'm good with it. And we would eat until somebody asked us to leave. That was the easy trick. We would go in, and it was like $5, and we would eat until somebody asked us to leave. Okay. I'm still a fat kid at heart, but the buffet is a very different creature now. One, this might strike many of you as funny. One of the reasons I like a buffet, I got in this habit while I was deployed. When it's mealtime, I get my chow, and then I go somewhere that people are going to leave me alone and let me eat in quiet. And I take off my boots, put on clean socks, and then eat. I don't change my socks at every meal now, but I still get this kind of, okay, this is my everybody fuck off, leave me alone. I'm gonna switch the world off for half an hour and just get my head back together. So I love a buffet because I can go in, get what I want to eat, sit down, and nobody bothers me unless they're coming over to refill my drink. Cool. In fact, there's a new one over in Stone Mountain called Gohan Buffet. Pretty good sushi on the menu. And you get your own drink, and they've got a robot that comes around to the table and you throw your dirty dishes in the bin so nobody bothers you. You hand them $15 when you walk in the door, and then nobody bothers you. Right? Which is great for me. But here's the other thing. You go to a fast food restaurant, you're going to spend $10 or $15 or $20 on lunch, and you're going to get a low quality cheeseburger, maybe some, maybe a rack of trash carbs. And I mean, I love a French fry too, but it's not good for you. And probably a bucket of soda that you should not have touched. Me, I only drink coffee and water like 90% of the time. I like a bourbon every now and then, but you know, a cold beer every now and then. But the vast majority of the time, I drink nothing but coffee and water. And that works for me. The other thing about the buffets, though, right? Even the cheapest Chinese buffet, there's some vegetables on that bar, some green beans, et cetera, et cetera. Now I'm a little older. I don't eat like I used to. I usually only have one, or maybe I usually have a plate, and then I might get up for a second plate for a little more of one thing or another. Usually at Golden Corral, it's the grilled squash. But I'm a big fan of Golden Corral. I can go in there and get a piece of fried chicken or baked chicken or fried pork chop or whatever, and lima beans, green beans, black-eyed peas, squash, zucchini, right? Food. And with the price hikes, the massive spikes in fast food prices, that is not substantially more expensive, if at all, than go to a Mickey D's. Like you could probably get out of Mickey D's for less than $10. if you're not particularly hungry. And no, St. Michael, you did not miss the trick. Here's the trick. Let's say you got a Mickey D's. You want to get a quarter pounder with cheese. I'm probably going to go with the deluxe quarter pounder with cheese because I like to have that salad on a burger. If I'm going to eat a cheeseburger, I like to have the lettuce and onion and tomato on it. So you got a quarter pounder with cheese. You go large size because you're a fat kid like me. Get the extra fries and the extra drink, and you're in 10, 12, 13 bucks, right? So let's say Gohan buffet is about 15 bucks. And they've got pretty good sushi on the menu, and the green beans and all that, right? So even if it's $1 or $2 more expensive, right? The trick is, now with, in fact, let me see if I can find the meme that I'd sent to the boys the other day, because this was actually what inspired me to do this show to begin with. Yeah, there it is. So, yeah, you can get real food for what we charge now. So you go into the Golden Corral. Lunch is like 12 or 13 bucks, and you might leave a $2 or $3 tip for your waitress. You're still at 16. So you're still not substantially above that ridiculous cost for going to McDonald's or Burger King or whatever. I went through Taco Bell night before last, because it was the only thing that was still open. I shot a ballet this weekend, and I had a pretty late night Saturday when I actually did the film piece of the gig. And there was a long line at the McDonald's. There was an outrageously long line around the Chick-fil-A, and I pulled into the Taco Bell, and I wanted a half a dozen soft shell tacos, right? That used to be a $6 or $7 proposition, and the idiot girl at the drive-thru started arguing with me about, well, we could charge it this way, or we could do it this way, or you could do it this way. And all of a sudden, she's telling me that 6 tacos is going to be like $27. And I finally said, you know what? I'm tired of arguing with you. Fuck it. Give me the $20 12 pack. Done. And I'm still in like it wasn't $20. It was like $26.50 for the 12 pack. So I'm at over $2 a taco. Ugh. And I'm not eating all 12 tacos. I may have had 9, but it cost a fortune to eat the fast food. Go to the buffet. Going to the buffet doesn't mean you have to pig out. You don't have to go in there and eat until you're uncomfortable. Right? But you go in, nobody bothers you. You get you some vegetables. I love me some lima beans, grilled zucchini, grilled squash. St. Michael says many grocery stores will run them on ad for less than that. Yes. Okay, yeah. So St. Michael, absolutely, you're better off just buying groceries and eating at home. But the piece of the conversation that you missed is assuming that you're on the road working, right? And you got to stop somewhere to get a bite. Y'all pick a restaurant, and like, even if you're not going to go to, the buffet like I was suggesting, I do highly recommend, like, y'all, you can run yourself up $20 or more easily at a Mickey D's. I'll take a meal. I'll go large. Let me get one of those fried apple pies, right? You can run yourself up $20 or so real quick. You know what else you can do for $20 on the lunch special? At least around the Metro Atlanta, all you can eat Korean barbecue. Those are great. You get bacon on the grill, pork belly, steak on the grill. You grill it yourself. It's cooked exactly how you want it. And you throw some kimchi in that mash, and you're in pretty good shape. And that kimchi is like a vitamin C super bomb, and it's delicious. So, Cindy just mentioned the other thing that I wanted to point out regarding this trend. And I apologize, I didn't already pull up the article for it. I was looking at it earlier. There we go, hoover.org from 5 hours ago, apparently. Ooh, that's hard to look at. Let's go to the reader view. So, California loses nearly 10,000 fast food jobs after $20 minimum wage signed last fall. Last September, Governor Gavin Newsom signed California Assembly Bill 1287 into law, which includes a $20 per hour minimum wage for fast food workers and fast food regulatory council, which has the authority to raise the industry's minimum wage annually. Oh, by the way, there's an exemption in this bill, I shit you not, for, and I quote, fast food restaurants. Okay, I'm paraphrasing. Fast food joints that have a bakery component are exempted from this law, are exempted from the $20 an hour minimum wage. That means Panera Bread, whose owner is a major Democrat donor, major Gavin Newsom donor. Nearly 10,000 fast food jobs lost after $20 minimum wage. And that in part goes back to what I was talking about earlier about inflation. These shitheads that were screaming fight for 15 4 or 5 years ago, idiots. You absolute idiots. If you work and negotiate and go and talk to the boss and ask for a raise, the cost of an individual employee getting a raise is part of the business plan, part of the business strategy to retain good talent. If you are good at your job, if you are a valuable commodity to the business, then ask for a raise, and you're likely to get it. If you double the cost of labor for an entire industry across a state by legislative fiat, there are only two predictable outcomes. And this is not an either-or situation, as we're seeing. This is a this and this. Prices will increase, and jobs will go away. They will increase prices, and they will fire workers. And they have to. You'll hear these arguments all the time. Oh, well, so-and-so CEO of such and such a company makes X millions of dollars. Why can't they just reduce his pay? Oh, you have it in your head that that's going to make a significant difference. Now, there are some places where it might, right? There are some places where it might. But a person making that argument doesn't understand numbers at scale, right? Ask yourself, how many employees does McDonald's have? Let's just ask that. How many employees does McDonald's have? As of 2023, okay, so let's say you got a CEO making, let's say he's making $10 million a year. Just, that's his compensation. That's probably a little high. The number of employees in the restaurant industry in the USA as of 2022. Okay, McDonald's, as of 2023, has 150,000 employees. And we're not talking about cutting the CEO's pay to give those employees a raise. We're talking about cutting the CEO's pay to keep those employees on, just to keep a number of those employees on. So at 150,000 employees, without even talking about employment taxes, benefits, etc., let's just say that against minimum wage, let's ballpark average that 150,000 and say they all make $10 an hour, right? That's 1.5 million. I guarantee you it's more than that. That's 1.5 million just to pay them. That's before you start talking about McDonald's paying student loans, paying for college, health insurance, payroll taxes, workman's comp insurance. I guarantee you that that number right there doubles or triples real quick when you start talking about all the additional costs involved in employment. So you can, you're talking about basically just you could do away with the CEO's salary and you're not going to make up the gap there. Remember, we're not talking about trying to give all of them a $1 an hour raise. Right? And never mind that's, and by the way, that 1.5, right? That's $1.5 million. That's per hour on 150,000 employees. And that's a pretty generously conservative low estimate. So the people making that argument about, the CEO makes so much money, they don't understand what numbers are. That's why they vote Democrat, because they can't math. Democrats are bad at math. So, big takeaway today, guys, no more fast food. Hell, Golden Corral's got cheeseburgers on the menu, and they're pretty good. St. Michael says, so my company started cutting all the part-timers to under 24 hours a week so that the company didn't have to pay into the system. That's one of those things that we said was going to happen, and then, oh, surprise, it happened, because right-wing nut jobs are good at math and squishy libtards aren't. That's actually a pretty generous way to say it. The fact of the matter is that the effect of a system is the purpose of a system, right? They talked about unintended consequences, right? We didn't expect this to go wrong. We expected this to be the outcome. No, bullshit. The effect of a system is the purpose of a system. If the left-wing position on economics and finances always predictably has the result of worsening the economic situation for the American people, then it's not complicated. Hamlin's razor would say that you cannot attribute to malice that which can be explained by incompetence. When incompetence is sufficiently repetitive, it can no longer be said to be incompetence and can only be understood as malice. There are no unintended consequences to those bad policies. The end result, the effect of the system, is the purpose of the system. That's why Obamacare was a job killer. It was supposed to be a job killer. That's why Obamacare dramatically increased prices over time. It was intended to increase prices and make health insurance unattainable for most people. Gruber said the quiet part out loud. We got him on tape. He said the point to Obamacare is to get us to full social medicine. That was right. And that's true. That's true of all this other stuff, right? You start looking at the scandals with BlackRock buying up houses for, 10 and 20% above their market value and then putting them back out as rental properties. The effect of the system is the purpose of the system. The objective is that you will eat the bugs and live in the pods. They want you renting shoe boxes and eating nothing but cockroach paste. So that's where we are. So the one quick trick to save your life and your pocketbook is to stay away from the fast food. If you gotta stop and eat somewhere because you're out on the road working, hit one of those buffets, get you some vegetables, save you a little money, and thank me later. If you don't have to be out on the road all the time, fuck the restaurants, man. Go to the grocery store, learn to cook, build an outdoor kitchen. I'm gonna. Y'all be safe out there. Thanks for watching today. We love you, and we will see you. I'm pretty sure we'll see you tomorrow. Wednesday is starting to look less and less likely, but y'all be safe, and we'll see you in the morning. Yeah, I know, Uncle Steve. I'll try to be mellower next week. I had intended to be a little more positive and talk more about the health benefits of going to the buffet and just having one plate of meat and vegetables. But yeah, we'll try to be mellower next Monday. Y'all be safe.